Right now, while you're watching this video, three people just became richer by the amount you'll earn in your entire lifetime. Before this video ends, they'll have made another lifetime of your income. This isn't exaggeration, this is mathematical reality. Drop a comment below and tell me, what country and city are you watching from? I want to know where in the world people are waking up to this pattern, because what I'm about to show you isn't just an American problem, it's a global pattern. But America is the laboratory where it's most extreme, most documented, and most dangerous. The top 1% of Americans own $44 trillion in wealth. The bottom 50%, that's 165 million people, own $3 trillion combined. Three people at the top have more wealth than 165 million at the bottom. This isn't inequality. This is wealth extraction on an industrial scale. And I'm going to show you exactly how it happened, why it accelerated, and what it means for your future. Because unless you're in that top 1%, this system is designed to extract wealth from you and concentrate it upward. Let me show you the machine. In 1980, America's wealth distribution was unequal but functional. The top 1% owned 23% of all wealth. The middle class was 61% of the population. A single income could buy a house, support a family, save for retirement. CEO pay was 30 times the average worker. College cost $7,500 per year. A house costs 3 times annual income. The American dream was achievable, not mythical. Then something changed. Not gradually, deliberately. Between 1980 and 2025, wealth distribution didn't drift toward inequality. It was engineered toward concentration. Today, the top 1% owns 32% of wealth, heading toward 40%. The middle class shrank from 61% to 50%. CEO pay is now 350 times the average worker. College costs $35,000 per year. A house costs 6 times annual income. What changed? 3 things: tax policy, labor policy, and monetary policy. All shifted simultaneously to favor capital over labor, wealth over work, concentration over distribution. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't market forces. This was policy design. Let me show you the mechanisms. Mechanism 1, tax policy rewrote the rules. In 1960, the top marginal tax rate was 91%. Wealthy individuals and corporations paid the highest share of taxes. That revenue funded infrastructure, education, social mobility. The tax system redistributed wealth downward, creating a broad middle class. Then came the cuts. Reagan dropped the top rate to 28% by 1988. Capital gains, how the wealthy make money, taxed at 20%. Income from labor, how everyone else makes money, taxed at 37%. The system now taxes work more than wealth. Corporate taxes fell from 52% in 1960 to 21% today. Where did that money go? Stock buybacks, executive compensation, shareholder dividends, not wages, not workers, not reinvestment. Tax cuts for the wealthy didn't trickle down. They stayed at the top and compounded. Mechanism 2, labor policy destroyed worker power. In 1960, 35% of workers were unionized. Unions negotiated wages tied to productivity. When productivity rose, wages rose. Workers captured their share of value created. Then unions were systematically dismantled. Reagan broke the air traffic controllers' strike in 1981, signaling that union busting was acceptable. Corporate America followed. By 2025, only 10% of workers are unionized. Productivity increased 77% since 1973. Wages increased 12%. That 65% gap, that's value extracted from workers and captured by capital. Globalization accelerated this. Companies moved production to low-wage countries, told American workers to accept lower pay or lose their jobs. Automation replaced workers. Companies kept productivity gains. Workers got layoffs. The labor share of GDP fell from 65% to 57%. The capital share rose from 35% to 43%. Workers create more value than ever. Capital captures it. Mechanism 3. Monetary policy inflated assets owned by the wealthy. When the Federal Reserve responds to crises, it prints money. Quantitative easing. From 2008 to 2022, the Fed printed $9 trillion. That money didn't go to workers. It went into asset markets. Stocks, real estate, bonds. Asset prices tripled. The wealthy who own assets got massively wealthier. The middle class who own labor got nothing. Wages barely rose while asset prices exploded. If you owned a house or stocks in 2009, you tripled your wealth. If you only had labor, you got a 30% wage increase over 15 years. Asset inflation is a wealth transfer mechanism from labor to capital, and it's accelerating. Now let me show you where this leads. Because extreme wealth concentration doesn't just create unfairness, it creates systemic fragility. The middle class is the engine of consumer economies. Middle class spending drives 70% of economic demand. When the middle class shrinks, when their purchasing power falls, consumer demand collapses. Companies lose revenue, they cut jobs. Demand falls further. This is the death spiral. We're watching it happen in real time. From 1970 to 2020, the middle class shrank from 61% to 50%. That's 33 million people who fell out of middle class status. They didn't rise to wealth. They fell to working poor or poverty. Where did the wealth go? To the top 10%, especially the top 1%. Every dollar the middle class lost, the top gained. This creates political instability. When middle-class people lose economic security, they lose faith in the system. They vote for extremists, populists, authoritarians, anyone who promises to tear down the system that failed them. The rise of political extremism in America directly correlates with the decline of the middle class. When inequality was lower in the 1950s through 1970s, politics was more stable. When inequality spiked in the 1920s, we got the Great Depression and political upheaval. When it spiked again from 2000 to 2020, we got Trump, Bernie Sanders, political polarization, January 6th. Extreme inequality destroys democratic stability. History proves this repeatedly. But there's something worse. The wealthy are decoupling from the need for a functioning society. In the past, the wealthy needed workers, needed consumers, needed stable society to protect their wealth. Today, automation reduces need for workers. Globalization means they operate everywhere and nowhere. Financialization means they make money from money, not from producing goods and services. They don't need a strong American middle class anymore. They can extract wealth without dependence on social stability. This changes the equation. In the past, the wealthy supported reforms because they needed a functional society. Today, they can extract wealth from a dysfunctional society. This is why reform is harder now than in the 1930s or 1960s. Let me show you what this means for you. If you're under 40, you're statistically worse off than your parents were at your age. You have more education, but more debt. You earn similar wages, but housing costs double. You're less likely to own a home, less likely to have retirement savings, less likely to achieve financial security. This isn't your failure. This is system design. The wealth extraction machine is working exactly as intended. It extracts from you and concentrates upward. If current trends continue, within 20 years, the top 1% will own 50% of all wealth. The bottom 50% will own less than 1%. Entire generations will be permanently locked out of wealth accumulation. Home ownership will be impossible without inheritance. Education will be a luxury only the wealthy can afford without crippling debt. Retirement will be a dream, not a plan. The majority will work until they die or rely on inadequate social programs. This isn't dystopian speculation. This is trend projection. The consequences are economic stagnation. When wealth concentrates at the top, growth slows. The wealthy can only buy so much. The masses can't afford to buy more. Companies have no reason to invest or expand. The economy stagnates. Japan's lost decades. Europe's secular stagnation. America is heading there. The consequences are social breakdown. When opportunity disappears, when mobility dies, when the social contract shatters, society fractures. Crime rises, trust falls. Communities collapse. The consequences are political authoritarianism. When democracy fails to deliver prosperity, people abandon democracy. They turn to strongmen, to nationalism, to scapegoating. History repeats. Here's the brutal truth. Wealth inequality in America isn't a problem the system will fix. The people with the power to fix it are the people who benefit from it. Politicians funded by billionaires won't pass wealth taxes. Corporations maximizing shareholder value won't raise wages voluntarily. The Fed won't stop inflating assets. The system will continue extracting wealth upward until something breaks. That something could be economic collapse, when consumer demand falls so low that the economy can't function. It could be political revolution, when enough people decide the system is illegitimate and must be replaced. It could be slow decay, where America gradually becomes a feudal society with a small, wealthy elite and a large, impoverished majority. History offers no examples of extreme inequality resolving peacefully without crisis forcing change. The question isn't whether this system is sustainable. It's obviously not. The question is how it ends, and whether you'll be prepared when it does. Understanding the wealth extraction machine is the first step. Positioning yourself to survive and potentially benefit from the eventual rebalancing is the second step, because change is coming. It always does when inequality reaches extremes. The only question is what form that change takes and who survives it. If this analysis showed you how the wealth distribution machine actually works, subscribe to the Wealth Forum. Because we track the systems, the mechanisms, and the patterns that concentrate and destroy wealth. Drop a comment below. Tell me your country and city. And answer this. Do you think wealth inequality will be fixed through peaceful reform? Or will the system have to break first before it changes? Because history suggests one of those two outcomes is inevitable, and we're running out of time for the peaceful option. This is the Wealth Forum. Understanding extraction, exposing systems, preparing for change,